People usually assume that we travel the world because we love to travel, you know, that we're adventurous, that we go off, you know, doing all these crazy explorations, that we're, you know, chasing different experiences. But the truth is, we travel in order to have a different life. We're not on holiday. This isn't a permanent holiday. But we're not escaping anything. We're not trying to get away from real life either. And it's really, honestly, it's not always an adventure. Travel is the tool that we use to have the lifestyle that we want. For us, for Jai, for our family as a whole. And if you've been feeling like a bit of a pull towards something different, a different way of living, then this video, I think, is for you. The first thing people don't quite understand about this kind of lifestyle is that they see, Instagram or TikTok or whatever they're watching, and they see these influencers in these amazing destinations like Bali or Thailand or wherever they are, living this incredible lifestyle. You know, it's beaches, it's sun, it's beautiful sunsets, it's all very glamorous, the hotels, it looks amazing, right? But the truth is, real life doesn't stop when you leave the UK. We're not on holiday for 2 weeks. If you go away for 2 weeks holiday and you have an all-inclusive break, you can put your feet up, the kids can go and play in the pool for 2 weeks, you can eat all you want, you've got the beaches. Amazing, that's great. But long-term travel and this kind of lifestyle doesn't work that way. You know, we still work. I still work online. Jeff still works as well. We still are parents. We still have, at the end of the day, we have an 8-year-old child who has good days and has bad days and who needs educating because we world school as well. We homeschool. We have days that are tiring, exhausting, stressful, difficult, boring, just like anywhere else in the world, you know. And we have difficult days. We have difficult days. You know, there are days when nothing goes to plan, when maybe Jai's sick, or we're very exhausted, or we're just arguing and bickering. You know, this is normal life still. It's just like anywhere else in the world. Just like being in the UK, it's normal life. You know, so our typical days at the moment are, we get up, we have breakfast, we do the school run, you know, we argue about brushing teeth and all of those things and what they're going to have for breakfast. We work during the day and then we pick Jai up about 3 and then we come home and we have to do things like any homework and we have to do, dinner and bedtimes and all of the usual things. Just because we live in a beautiful place, beautiful part of the world, doesn't mean that life has stopped happening, because life is still lifing everywhere we go. And I remember this really clearly when we moved to Australia, when Jeff and I moved to Australia back in 2005, I think it was. And, you know, we worked, I was a nurse, Jeff was a mechanic, and we got our jobs and we were living the dream, you know, living by the beach. We were living in Sydney. It was amazing. But very, very quickly we realised that it's just the same old routine, but just in a different country. So you go to a new country, you have beautiful scenery, you have new people, new food, new experiences. But after a while, the mundane routine stuff is just what you're doing all the time. So it isn't like being on holiday. It's living your life in a different place, in a slightly different way. And this is the thing. You know, we wanted to travel with Jai, not because we want to see everything in the world, although we do love to travel, we do love to see things and have new experiences, but it's actually mainly about having more time together, having more time as a family, having less screen time, having less, distractions from things that we just don't want to be part of. We don't have to watch the news anymore. It's not constantly in our face. We don't have a TV here, which is amazing. We have slower mornings. If Jai's not at a World School Hub, which is not all the time, we can get up whenever we want. We can have bedtime whenever we want. We don't have the same rigid structures around our lives that we had in the UK with work, with school, and all of the things. Weekends are any day now. We just don't have as much stress, actually. We don't live for the weekends and holidays, because we are living it, but just in a slightly different way. I think a lot of parents feel guilty about, not feeling content in their lives. You have your children, you have your house, you have your family, you have your friends, your community, but something maybe is missing, or something doesn't feel quite right. I think for us it wasn't that something was missing, it was just that something was missing. We were never really living. We were just going through the motions of what we were supposed to be doing all the time. And, Jeff worked long hours. I did the school runs. I looked after Jai, really. I worked from home. Jeff was gone in the morning. He got home after, dinner time. Like most families, like many families are like that, aren't they? And then at weekends, we'd be rushing around, seeing people, trying to sort of do things that were fun. And then we were just exhausted all the time. And then we just spend our weekends tired or out and not really spending that much time together as a family, not quality time. And then we'd live for holidays. So you'd have your week in the sun somewhere, and then you're back to work again. It's not really any way to live. Or we didn't think it was anyway. And I think if you're feeling in a similar way, if you're feeling like this doesn't feel aligned, it feels like something's not right, don't feel guilty about that. That's absolutely okay. You're not being ungrateful. It's just the way you are starting to feel about things. You shouldn't feel guilty about wanting to work less, spend more time with your family, have less stress and less pressure on you, and have more freedom in your life. There's nothing to feel guilty about. And I think it's always really important to remember as well that kids don't need everything to be just right. They don't need all of the things. They don't need to have all of the brand new trainers and all the games and all of the things. They actually just need to have connection with people. They need us. And, there are trade-offs. So we have more time, we have more connection, we have more flexibility, we have more freedom. But we have traded off some other things like stability, certainty, routine, structure, convenience. Often things aren't easy when you're traveling, obviously, especially places like Asia or Central America. Things aren't always easy. But that is kind of half the fun as well, I think. But I think something that's really important is being aware of the fact that you don't have to travel full time to have that kind of lifestyle. There are ways of doing it without selling everything you own and buying a one-way ticket to Bangkok or whatever. You don't have to leave your country. You don't have to homeschool, actually, if you don't want to as well. You don't have to quit everything and give up everything you own. But it's about asking yourself, how would a better life look for us? What is it? What are the elements that are making you unhappy, that are making you feel stuck, that are making you feel like you want to change things? What is wrong? But also, how would it look the other way? How would my life look if I was feeling aligned and happy and that sense of freedom? Because maybe all you need to do is somehow slow down, simplify your life. Do you need to be doing all the things that you're doing all the time? Are there ways of cutting things out so that your life is more simple and you actually have more time with your family, to spend being really present with each other and not rushing around from one thing to another. I mean, for us, travel made a lot of sense because it actually kind of forces you to slow down. It forces you to reevaluate your priorities. It forces you to simplify your life because you have to reduce the excess stuff. You know, you suddenly, if you're in a completely different continent, you're not surrounded by the people who are always demanding your time and attention, family, friends, whoever they are. You know, you don't have school and the school commitments, but then you take on different things, like you have to homeschool or world school. So there's different commitments. But maybe you prefer to homeschool, to spend time with your kids rather than sending them off to an institution with strangers teaching your kids whatever they're teaching them. You know, travel isn't glamorous, but it did force us to make the changes that actually made us a lot happier. For us, we love travel. We love to travel. We love to explore different places, but it really is a means to an end. And the end is the freedom, the presence, the connection, the time that we have together, the opportunity to meet new people and be part of different communities in a way that we never had in the UK. So if travel is scary for you, but you still want that lifestyle, think about what else you can maybe change. Could you work remotely? Could you maybe have longer holidays with your family rather than just a week here and there? Could you prioritise maybe a screen-free Sunday where all of you go out together and you don't sit and stare at screens all the time? Think about how you can make this work for you if travel isn't an option for you right now. And maybe in the future it will be something that you look into again. If you're feeling this pull to change your life, if you're feeling this niggling feeling that something's not right and you don't want to carry on like this in 2026, you don't have to completely change your life. You don't need to blow up everything and start again. It just means something needs to be done differently. So start small if that's what feels comfortable for you. I've created some free resources that are going to help families just like you make that move into traveling the world full-time but on a budget. Links are all in the description.